it's a video. This time we're doing the top 20 most nationally capable countries, which is another way of saying how nationally powerful they are. So in essence, it's sort of the top 10 most powerful countries in the world. And this is not just on military, no. I'm pretty sure we all know who would win on military. Yeah, it's called the USA. But I bet some countries are going to catch up real fast. Now this is based on 6 things, because more than 6 would be just a bit much. The total population of the country ratio, the urban population of the country ratio, the primary energy consumption ratio, the iron and steel production of the country ratio, the military expenditures ratio, and the amount of people you have in the military ratio. I don't know what, and these are compared to the entire. The ratios mean the country versus the world, basically. That's what a ratio in this sense means. So some of these may surprise you, this may be complicating, it certainly complicated me, but anyway. Number 20. Saudi Arabia. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is one of the main players in the Arab world. Its stature is built on its geographical size, twice that of France and Germany combined. Its prestige as the custodian of the birthplace of Islam, and its colossal status as an oil producer, with a quarter of the world's oil proven reserves under its deserts. Its importance as an oil exporting nation has made economic interdependence of the West, where the main consumer demand is found, a necessity. This, in turn, says a strong political and military relationships at times have been a source of awkwardness to both sides. It stands up for its espousal of a Puritan Sunni version of Sunni Islam, including harsh punishments such as public beheadings, stoning for adultery, basically people who get raped, and in its restrictions on women. Number 19. Spain. Located at the crossroads of the Atlantic and the Mediterranean, Europe and Africa, Spain's history and culture are made up of a rich mix of diverse elements. Through exploration and conquest, Spain became a world power in the 16th century, and it maintained a vast overseas empire until the early 1800s. Spain's modern history is marked by a bitterly fought Spanish Civil War of 1936 to 1959, and the ensuing 36-year dictatorship of General Francisco Franco. After Franco's death in 1975, Spain made the transition to a democratic state and built a successful economy, with King Juan Carlos as head of state. The Constitution of 1978 enshrines respect for linguistic and cultural diversity within a unified Spain. The country is divided into 17 regions, which all have their own directly elected authorities. Number 18. Ukraine. Please note, for Crimeans, this border is here because there's a dispute between who Crimea belongs to. It's de facto Russian, but de jure Ukrainian. That means it's under Russian control, but the international community still recognizes it as an Ukrainian province, albeit an autonomous one. So either they get to be under the Kremlin, which is what most of the people want, or they get to rule themselves under the Ukrainians, which is what many people don't want. I'll leave this one up to you. But still, they only could have entered on Russia unless Turkey had an interest there, which they probably don't. So goodbye. Oh, by the way, the citizens did most of the work. Those soldiers just went there and secured the area, said, please leave, or please, I'm going to force you into surrender. It's like, sort of like that. Oh, no. Anyway, Ukraine gained independence after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, and has since been seeking closer integration of Western Europe and being drawn into the orbit of Russia, which sees its interests as threatened by a Western-leading Ukraine. Europe's second largest country, Ukraine is a land of wide, fertile agricultural plains, with large pockets of heavy industry in the east. While Ukraine and Russia share common historical origin, the west of the country is closer tied to its European neighbours, particularly Poland, and nationalist sentiment is strongest there. A significant minority of the population uses Russian as its first language, particularly in the industrialized east. In Crimea, an autonomous republic of the Black Sea that was part of Russia until 1954, ethnic Russians make up 67% of the population. Russia once again seized and annexed Crimea. That's what most people will say, at least. Actually, the Crimean people did most of the work. Russian soldiers came in and said, we're just going to secure some bases and stuff. And he organised a referendum, which rather weirdly, were only over 60. I mean, as far as I know, Tatars stopped the referendum, but the Russian thing made up 95.7% of the vote, despite Russians only making up 67%. First time was 80%, while Russians would make up a big majority of about 83.75%. It's a bit odd to find that if Tatars really did boycott the election, over half the Ukrainians would vote to be with the country that took Crimea from them, that may have taken Crimea from them in the first place. Weird. Anyway, Russia once again seized and annexed Crimea in March 2014. At least is what some people say. I don't believe that. Amid the chaos following the fall of President Viktor Yanukovych, plunging Europe into its first diplomatic crisis since the Cold War. I see that Beam made a typo there, plunging European into its worst. Number 17. Mexico. Mexico is a nation where affluence, poverty, national splendor, and urban blight rubs shoulders. Its politics were dominated for 70 years by the Institutional Revolutionary Party, or PRI. The de facto one-party system with a democratic crusade ended in congressional elections in 1997. The PRI, if it captured the presidency in 2012, pledged, but it had changed. Not much information there, is there? Number 16. North Korea. For decades, North Korea has been one of the world's most secretive societies. It's one of the few countries still under nominally communist rule, although they call it Juche. North Korea's nuclear ambitions have been exacerbated. It's rigidly maintained isolation from the rest of the world. The country emerged in 1948 as in chaos following the end of the Second World War. Amid the chaos, that is. Its history is dominated by its great leader, Kim Il-sung, who shaped political affairs for almost half a century. Decades of its rigid state control system led to stagnation and a leadership dependent on the cult of personality. The totalitarian state also stands accused of systematic human rights abuses. Number 15. Iran. Iran became an Islamic republic in 1979, when the monarchy was overthrown and clerics assumed political control under Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini. The Iranian Revolution put an end to the rule of the Shah, who had alienated powerful religious, political and popular forces with program and modernization and westernization, coupled with heavy repression of dissent. Persia, as Iran was known before 1935, was one of the greatest empires of the ancient world, and the country long maintained a distinct cultural identity within the Islamic world by retaining its own language and adhering to the Shia interpretation of Islam. They also used to be great buddies with Saudi Arabia. Now they're two of the biggest enemies in the world. Perhaps even fighting a proxy war with each other in Yemen. Iran supporting the Houthi rebels, Saudi Arabia, as we know, are supporting the Yemeni government, like bombing places where Houthi are kept, destroying schools, public centers everywhere, and all that stuff. Number 14. Indonesia. I wish I had a better Windows system. Spread across a chain of thousands of islands between Asia and Australia, well, Australasia and Oceania, Indonesia has the world's largest Muslim population and Southeast Asia's biggest economy. Ethnically, it is highly diverse, with more than 300 local languages. People range from rural hunter-gatherers to a modern urban elite. Sophisticated kingdom existed before the arrival of the Dutch, who colonized the archipelago, but gave it into an independent struggle in 1949. Indonesia has become one of the world's major emerging economies. The country faces demands of independence in several provinces. Ouch. But luckily, no one seems to be actually getting independence, so things look good from there. Number 13. Pakistan. Note, Pakistan controls the north bit, India controls the south bit, the easternmost bits are controlled by China, including that big blob to the east of where India is controlling. India lost war of them because of that, to get that land. The Muslim majority state of Pakistan was born out of a partition of the Indian subcontinent in 1947 by the British Empire, and has faced both domestic political upheavals and regional confrontations, created to meet the demands of Indian Muslims of their own homeland. Pakistan was originally made up of two parts. The east wing, present-day Bangladesh, is on the Bay of Bengal, bordering India and Burma, otherwise known as Myanmar. The west wing, present-day Pakistan, stretches from the Himalayas down to the Arabian Sea. The breakup of the two wings came in 1971 when the Bengali-speaking east wing seceded with help from India. Number 12. Turkey. Once the centre of the Ottoman Empire, the modern secular republic was established in the 1920s by nationalist leader Kemal Ataturk. Straddling continents of Europe and Asia, Turkey is strategically important location to gain major influence in the region and control over the entrance to the Black Sea. Progress towards massacring the market economy was halting after Ataturk's death in 1938, and the army, seen itself as guarantor of the constitution, repeatedly asked the government seen as challenging secular values. Joining the European Union being a long-standing ambition, Membership talks to launch last month, but progress will be slow. Several EU states have serious misgivings about Turkish EU membership. Kurds make up about a fifth of the population. Kurdish separatists who accuse Turkish state of seeking to destroy the cultural identity have been waging a guerrilla war since the 1980s. And number 11, final one for the day, is Italy. Take the artworks of Botticelli, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Tintoretto, and Caravaggio, the operas of Verdi and Puccini, cinema of Federico Fellini, and the architecture of Venice, Florence, and Rome, and you to have just a fraction of Italy's treasures from over the centuries. While the country is renowned for trade and other delights, it is also notorious for its precarious political life and has had several dozen governments since the end of World War II. The Italian political landscape has underwent a seismic shift in the early 1980s when the Mani Pollute, clean hands, operation exposed corruption from the highest level of politics and business. Several former prime ministers implicated thousands of business and defeat politicians over Nestle. The highest at the time of the Mani Pollute scandal would give rise to a radical reform of Italian political culture. But these hopes were dashed when the old structure of his on the political landscape dominated by a multi-millionaire businessman, Silvio Berlusconi, who himself became increasingly mired in scandals and corruption affairs. All this is slightly true, but all this may not be true, but it's the best information Zossa could find. It's got loads of information and complicated stuff. So, goodbye. By the way, there are actually 10 honourable mentions I'll be mentioning to you, 5 or 10, in the next video, or about this topic. So, ta-ta, cheerio, and once again, good bloomin' bye.